and welcome back to another episode of the Accessible Technology Podcast with me, Phoebe Slough. This is a podcast all about the most accessible modern day technologies you can buy if you are a disabled person or you are the family member or friend of a disabled person, as well as telling you what technologies are the least accessible for disabled people to buy, and which also sometimes features advice that I would give to technology companies that want to make their tech more accessible. This is something that I have a personal interest in, however, because I can only use technology with a chopstick or a stylus in my mouth since I am paralyzed from the neck down, and that's basically because the only bit of movement that I have is my head. But if that sounds like something that you or someone else would be into, you can follow the podcast by searching for it on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, and Spotify. However, if you'd like to support the podcast and the content I produce in other ways, you can also support it by going over to the Phoebes Now Buy Me a Coffee page, which is where you will be able to give me a one-time donation, find exclusive episodes that aren't part of the podcast, or check out other products that I will be releasing soon. In this episode, however, you're going to hear me reacting to the announcement that Final Cut and Logic Pro have finally made their way onto the iPad, although the main bit of audio that appears in this episode was recorded before these apps actually arrived. But here's some additional notes about the iPad versions of these apps before I get fully into the reaction. So both the Final Cut Pro app and Logic Pro app were announced by Apple's newsroom on the 9th of May 2023, and both have been redesigned so that they can be used with an all-new touch interface that will allow you to use multi-touch as well. However, they both also come with a bunch of new features, which in Final Cut Pro's case includes a jog wheel, the ability to navigate the magnetic timeline so you can move clips and make fast frame edits, live drawing, which means you can write and draw directly on top of video footage, as well as the ability to speed up footage if you use a magic keyboard, the ability to film more footage into your project, access to multicam video editing, color grading, the ability to use screen backgrounds even if you don't have an actual green screen and more. Meanwhile, Logic Pro gives you the ability to use multi-touch gestures to play instruments, the ability to use pinch to zoom and swipe to scroll to get on the app, plug-in tiles, the ability to use the built-in microphone on your iPad when recording your voice or the sounds of any instrument you have, while also making it more easy to make precise edits and to change track automation by just drawing on the tune with an Apple Pencil or a stylus. Like Final Cut Pro for the iPad, but also allows you to use the Apple Magic Keyboard and a lot more as well. But now let's jump straight into this announcement and my reaction to it.
Having the ability to be able to make anything wherever we are, especially us, is the best thing for our workflow.
I'm sorry, this is so cool. I threw a beat breaker on here and put it in halftime.
Subject, which is the falling pineapples, and added colorful backgrounds. And then I just drew a couple of words. It's really cool because it automatically animates, so I didn't have to put in hours of work to do it.
You can film it straight into the project.
Right, so overall, my thoughts. It's absolutely brilliant that Final Cut is coming to the iPad, but I am slightly disappointed that it is only coming to the iPads with an M1 or an M2 chip and everything that comes out after that. But on a slightly better note, I am slightly happier about Logic because that is something that I've heard is going to be available on older iPads, so my 2018 one should be able to run it. As I said in my reaction to the DaVinci Resolve news and app coming to iPad, I think it's something that I would like to rent in an M1 iPad or an M2 iPad to try. Out of the features that are being introduced to Final Cut for the iPad, I do think I like the idea of the scene remover, and that's going to be so much more helpful when it comes to needing to add in backgrounds without having to use a green screen. And I think it's great that third-party content will be supported in future. For the people who are like myself, however, and who have a 2018 iPad Pro, at least we do have other alternative apps that we can use. The DaVinci Resolve has just appeared a couple of months ago, and I've been able to download it onto my iPad, so that's at least something that we can get. And LumaFusion is also still a pretty good app that we can use, so even if you can't afford to upgrade your older iPad Pro to a new model or anything else, or even loan it in, like we're still getting good apps. So if you don't necessarily want to use Final Cut for the iPad, then yeah, we're still having good enough apps without upgrading. The only thing that I sort of do agree is slightly disappointing is that users are going to have to pay a subscription service, and that's for $4.99 a month or about £50 a year. The only thing I'll say in relation to this is keep in mind that Final Cut for a Mac, yes, is a 300 something payment, but it's a one-time payment. So does that really make sense on Apple's part to make it a subscription service when the Mac version is a one-time payment? It wouldn't bring me off it completely. However, on another note, I am really happy that Logic is really bringing in a really creative interface, so we'll be able to mess around with instruments and everything else and use styluses to scroll through, although I just hope that it isn't just limited to an Apple Pencil, because I have been advised not to use the Apple Pencil. But enough about my thoughts. Let me ask, what are your thoughts and opinions on Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro coming to the iPad? Have you tried either of them yet? And what have your experiences trying them out been like? Is there anything in particular that you like or dislike? Well, if you would like to pass on some of your thoughts, you can include them in a review wherever you're listening to this podcast on, as well as via the contact pages over on my pltechreviews.co.uk website or on my other website, bblow.com. If you're interested in watching my other videos that cover accessible technology, you can find them by searching for PL Tech Reviews on YouTube. But if you would also like to see a couple of my accessible tourism reviews, as well as my film, TV, theatre reviews and political videos, you can also find all of them by searching just for Feedslaw journalism on YouTube. However, if you would also prefer a video-free version of everything that is covered on the Feedslaw Journalist YouTube channel, you can find all of them covered in podcast form by just searching for the Feedslaw podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music and Audible, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. But of course, there is also the Buy Me a Coffee page again, and that's where you'll be able to find some exclusive episodes of this podcast that aren't actually part of it. Plus, you'll have the opportunity to give me a one-time donation. I have to say, however, just returning to the topic of today's episode, while I did sign up to Logic Pro for the iPad, I didn't really have a good experience overall the first time I opened it, because I couldn't insert anything from my hard drive, and it was also quite difficult to get round, but I might try it out again soon in the near future again and see if I can do a more in-depth review of it. So hopefully that comes sooner rather than later. In the next episode, you're going to hear me reacting to everything that Apple announced at WWDC 23, and that will then be covered by me giving a more in-depth view on one of the devices that was announced during the conference this year. But then after that, I'll be giving you part 2 of my review on my customized DSI and yeah, that'll be you all up to date with the content of the YouTube channel at that time. So yeah, we can move forward at a more balanced pace from then on. I plan to update this podcast 3 times a week, but honestly, that could change at any time because I'm trying to hold on some journalism work as well at the minute, and I might be getting a wee bit more work in the next few weeks or months, although I'll try to keep the podcast as regular as I can if I do have to make any changes. So, fingers crossed. If you would like to support me on my socials, you can do so by searching for @Phoebes on Twitter, or X as it is known as, and my Instagram handle is the real Phoebes in all small letters. However, you can also follow the Phoebes Tech Reviews website by searching for it on WordPress. However, to follow it you will need to have a WordPress account, blog, or business, so that might not be the easiest for you. Although if you would like another way of getting in touch and showing your support, you can do so really just by following along with this podcast or the YouTube channel. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Bye!